when you engage with Athena, who is our AI, she'll provide a bunch of responses for you, not only advice that's informed by all of the content that we have, but we also add in, we take, the HRIS system from the organization, their LMS, and we plug it all in their benefits program, et cetera. So you really take the scope and scale of what Athena AI can do for you, from a really reliable personal coach out to sort of a content curator, out to a confidant, if you will, productivity assistant, and just keep adding roles to it.
Hello, welcome to EdTech Leaders. Today we have Mark Jesty, Senior VP of Customer Solutions at Athena Online and Institute for Management Studies. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, thanks for having me, Oliver.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. So, in asking what your company does, could you try to give me the one sentence version, and what would that be? And this is going to be a little extra difficult for you, but what would you say if someone asked you that?
I think we help people be more effective in the day-to-day stuff they need to get done.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we'll break that down a little bit, because you have the Institute for Management Studies, and that's one part. And that is leadership training and in a broad way, right? And then you have Athena Online. So just tell us a little bit about both of those, and then
Yeah, for sure. So the Institute for Management Studies, IMS, was founded in 1974 as a traditional classroom-based business. And then as it grew and evolved over the last 50 some odd years, we came to a point where we realized that, people were going to an online format. There was better ways or additional ways to do things. And so we spun off Athena Online, which if you're unfamiliar, is the goddess of wisdom and war, and learning. And so shortly after we had a number of those conversations, we realized not a lot of people knew that. So we actually rebranded it Quick Coach. But essentially what we tried to do with that was take that which was working extremely well in the physical world, and we just tried to move it into the microlearning space. And we were one of the first to come out of the gate with this idea of taking, long form content and then breaking it down into digestible pieces that you could consume, get an answer to a question and apply that learning directly. We started that probably 2002, 2001, and then it's evolved all the way up into the arrival of AI, which has made life extremely interesting.
Cool. So you started out with little videos, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And at a time when the internet, maybe the bandwidth wasn't great, but so you're an somewhat early adopter. And then over the last few years, right, as AI got better, the last couple of years, you've been really adding that and focusing on that, correct?
Yeah. And so when I make the statement that, we try to help people do things better on a daily basis, I'm really talking about, sort of in the world of work, we're all faced with our business challenges, et cetera. But a lot of them have a common thread through them, is that it's dealing with people, dealing with yourself, your mindsets, your productivity, all those things that might fall traditionally into the bucket of soft skills. And so really what we try and do is we really focus there. And while we got started on the concept back when 56K, dial-up modems made it really cumbersome to do so, we very quickly in the 2000s and 2010s realized that, this world had one major problem. And that was there was a race to scale. So the race to scale happened over about a 15-year period where it was, let's just get as much content as we possibly can. And we succeeded. Skillsoft ended up with 70,000 assets. I think LinkedIn Learning has right now somewhere around 100,000 assets. We're around 5,000 assets. Okay, great. But can you connect it to the person who needs that answer when they need it. And AI arrived on our doorstep as kind of the silver bullet, the solution to the biggest problem we've been dealing with almost our entire existence. And so when ChatGPT was launched in November of 2022, it was a toy, not a tool. That modality changed, and somewhere around June of 2023, it became significantly improved and reliable enough to be operationalized. And that's really when we dove in and said, okay, actually we can do something with this and solve that business problem we've been struggling with.
Cool. So what does that look like for a typical user, and who are your main clients?
So the typical the end user, it depends on what the company wants to embark upon, and our clientele runs the gamut. We've got organizations that have 100 employees, and we have organizations as large as some of the biggest companies, New York Life, and that level of organization. And the user experience depends on what our customer wants to deliver. So when you engage with Athena, who is our AI, she'll provide a bunch of responses for you, not only advice that's informed by all of the content that we have, but we also we take, the HRIS system from the organization, their LMS, and we plug it all in their benefits program, et cetera. So you really take the scope and scale of what Athena AI can do for you, from a really reliable personal coach out to sort of a content curator, out to a confidant, if you will, productivity assistant, and just keep adding roles to it.
Cool. So you're combining all of your assets as a company, your training videos, and
Yeah,
then you're adding your clients' database of their assets
yeah.
for the particular use, and scanning that. So um, I know you're heavily into HR, right? That's one of your main.
That is, well, I would say you sort of have to know what you're good at and what you're not
Mhm.
good at. And so we have planted our flag firmly in the space of HR. That's really where our expertise is. That's where we live.
So how do you sell that, in the sense that, I imagine there must be some pushback just from the word AI from people in HR. I mean, I assume. So how do you overcome that? What are
Well,
the objections? I mean.
yeah, that's an excellent question, Oliver. Because any technology, when it's in its infancy, always has a bit of a fear factor to it, and you can triple that when it's technology, particularly with all the cyber threats and digital um, boogeymen that are out there. We have to First and foremost, we have to win over the IT department to talk about sort of our risk protocols, our basically our cyber hygiene, in order to make sure that it meets muster. Then the next piece is the perceived dehumanization that AI brings to the table in a function that has largely been human, ergo human resources. That part we really get over pretty quickly when you see the fluidity that people engage with. And most of the organizations that we're dealing with, you've got people who are already using AI, and some of them heavily, even if not sanctioned by, the organization they work for.
Mm.
It's one of those technologies that has just kind of end run the whole corporate process. And you've got people who are very savvy with AI, even though they may not be allowed to use it at work. So we sort of play a role in pointing that out to HR
Mhm.
departments, that you can like it or hate it, but it's being used right now. So you might as well get on board and harness the power of it. Bring people and give them tools internally, so at least you can, that you can be part of that conversation.
Cool. So give me just an example so someone could picture. Let's say an employee wants to know something from HR. They can just ask the AI agent directly, or do they go to HR and then HR does it, or both? What does it look like?
Yeah, a great question. just imagine a world where you come in, fire up your computer, and then you open this, on your desktop. And as your day progresses, you could have anything from, read this email for me and make it a little bit more impactful. Am I coming across as too defensive here? Asking questions like that. Then I've got a 10:30 with one of my peers. We've been having an issue on a project, and I ask flat out, this person is oftentimes very defensive. They're quiet. I don't know how to interact, and I need them to get the following outcome. Can you give me some ideas? So it'll actually summarize a report and then actually grab the resources. So we use what's called a retrieval augmented generation AI platform, which means don't think for yourself. Go to this data lake of information that we've provided and grab the answer from there. And that way HR can be certain that the answer has been vetted already. You're not going to get the hallucinations. You're not going to get some of the unpredictable responses AI might typically give you. And so I can pivot from that to, oh, I just talked to my partner, and then we're headed off. We want to go to Florida for, July 4th weekend. I could type in, how many vacation days do I have left? And so it's just kind of this single source of, imagine that HR had a face, imagine that face was digital, and imagine it sat on your desktop daily.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so that's a good example of how it's looking at the internal policies of the company. It's
Correct.
looking at the specific data from the employee, like vacation days, and it's scanning your library of resources for sort of the soft skills all at once.
You
Uh,
got it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and you've probably heard the term agentic workflow, which agentic workflows in AI are sort of the new, but essentially all it means is that you're going to have, instead of one AI, like Gemini or Grok or ChatGPT, you're actually going to have a field of agents. Each one has their own expertise. And that expertise is then fine-tuned, and you arm it with the information it requires, and that these agents then will work together to figure out which, you asked a question, I need to go here, here, and here in order to get you the proper answer. And that agentic workflow we're at the very beginning of, but that is kind of the future of where AI is heading for almost all of us, but certainly in a corporate setting, it's on its way.
So here's a tech question: is there a super agent that decides which sub agents to get? Is that how it works?
I am unqualified to answer that at this moment. I
Okay.
suspect there'll always be a lead agent,
Yeah.
so there'll always be um, like organizations will have a personality and
Yeah.
even functions within an organization. You can imagine any large company, the face of HR agent will probably look different than the face of legal
Right.
or the face of finance.
Right.
So I would say that there's probably no Uber agent, but there
Yeah.
are lead agents for each function.
Right. 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 So it would be obvious to most people, but someone could just have like an operator agent that's like, oh, you need this agent, and it will just direct them to the agent.
Well, Oliver, I'm not sure if we're going to be, drifting too far into the left lane here, but
Yeah.
there's probably a time in which you, Oliver, have your own agent. That'll be your super agent,
Yeah.
and it
Right.
might access, upwards of 100 sub agents, whether
Right.
it's your credit card company, your bank, work ones, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, right, right. So it's like an
Yep.
Apple Wallet. You could add your agents, and then
Yeah.
your Apple Wallet's smart, and you can figure out how
Yeah.
to go. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
You got it.
So let's talk about marketing this. We've touched a little bit about how you sort of overcome obstacles, but how have you found clients? I mean, been around a while, but let's say in the most recent iteration of the AI coach, how have you been finding clients traditionally, and will that change?
Yeah, I mean, I suspect it will change. But the way we've done it traditionally is we've gone to our customers who have been with us for a very long time, some of them with the Institute for Management Studies, and they've gone on this evolution with us.
Mm.
So this is not a surprise. We went from in class live events, to transitioning into this asynchronous learning with microlearning, to then when COVID hit to live virtual, and they've kind of traveled this path with us. So it's not really much of a surprise that when we came to them with, okay, and here's the 2.0 of learning in general. That this is probably the biggest sea change that we have seen in this industry, since the computer. Yeah,
Mm.
and really, it might even be bigger than that, because all that digitization did for in-class learning was capture what was happening and move it online. Now, how we manipulate that into asynchronous learning was just a little bit of a stretch, whereas what AI is about to do to this space it's quantum. It's quantum. Imagine the old paradigm. If you're an organization of, say, 10,000 employees and you want to run a new manager program, well, what you would do is you would run cohorts of that. And you'd probably get a location with a ballroom and a hotel, that kind of thing. And then you might have to run 3 cohorts per year to accommodate all the new managers that have arrived, kind of in that time frame. Uh, AI affords you the ability to have mass customization. So you can be running, you could be running 10,000 different learning programs at the same time, each for an individual, meeting them where they're at, escalating them from a skill testing perspective at their pace and only in the areas they require.
Mm.
It's mind blowing.
That's incredible. So so far you've been mostly just do like phone calls and
Yeah,
outreach. Have you done social media or other
yeah.
channels?
Fair enough. So from
Yeah.
a strictly marketing perspective, the challenge that we're running into right now is everything's AI. So what we
Okay.
have done is we've gone to our existing customer base and then marketed it that way. We've used LinkedIn, outward bound marketing platforms, lead generation systems. We've kind of done it all. The biggest challenge for anyone in this space, and we're certainly not unique in this area, is that everything has AI strapped on it right now. Whether it's legitimate or not, it's just, and so people, our potential buyers, are being inundated on all their social platforms, on every conference they go to. It's just AI all the time. And this too shall pass, because not all AI is created equal, and people will, I think, in pretty short order, come to the realization that AI is not a thing, it's a tool, and their strategy is going to come back to the fore. All it is a tool to execute your strategy on. So don't get focused on the tool, get focused on your strategy, and then find the AI that best fits that strategy. So that's what we're trying to do right now. We're actually trying to talk to customers about their strategy, what is their end goal, and then we try and say, okay, well, here's the AI um, portfolio that might best help you execute on that. And we're using a variety of platforms to do that, from LinkedIn to ATD conferences to direct mail, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Oh, that's cool. And is that working so far? Are you getting the message out? Is it pat? Yeah.
It has been, yeah, it has been. Less so most recently with some of the I don't want to date this podcast, but some of the economic uncertainty that exists,
Mm.
in the time we're having this discussion, has caused organizations to kind of freeze, just sort of a bit of strategic paralysis until they figure out where the dust is going to settle on things like tariffs and economic uncertainty and recessions, that kind of thing. And
Mm.
so, it's not the first time we've seen this, and we will see it again. We're right now in a mode of this too shall pass, and keep
Mhm.
the message strong, keep it focused on strategy.
Hmm. Cool. How large, roughly is the company at this point?
Well, we're a private company, and so
Hmm.
I'm kind of not at liberty to disclose the total numbers, but
Okay.
I can say that we've got more than 100 Fortune 500 companies as customers, which is wonderful news. And what's really cool about the change in our footprint has been the ability to take that same service that we could deliver to, the American Expresses of the world, et cetera. I don't know if they're exactly a customer right now, but that level of company, uh, that we've been able to actually also offer that same type of service at the same price point to organizations with 200 employees. And that part has been truly wonderful and unique. And that's a new space for us. So we're exploring how you touch those customers, how you get, sort of on their radar and have those discussions with them.
It's amazing. It's a pretty big transformation that
Yeah.
AI allows for, uh, to take what used to be only affordable by huge, corporations. I mean, obviously there was no AI, but just to take something like that, being able to offer it to smaller companies, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the democratization of learning. Like it really,
Yeah.
AI arriving solves the problem of, so much volume, but none of that matters unless you get what you need. Imagine you walk into a library and, you need a piece of information to solve a problem. And then you have to go through the library and find it. The chances of that actually ending in a good outcome are very minimal. But if you're just standing in the parking lot like we all do, and you have to fix a wiper blade on your car, and you go to YouTube, type in your car type, it'll show you how to do it. That's sort of what AI is doing to learning. And from a corporate perspective, it's taking literally 100,000 assets, could even be more in some cases if you look at policies, procedures, company values, competency models, learning and development assets, all that. Um, it's taking, 100,000 assets, combing through them in less than 3 seconds, getting you the pieces of each document and learning, et cetera, that you need and providing it to you in real time. It's amazing. Transformation is unbelievable.
That is so cool. And if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, well, by all means, you can visit quickcoach.ai and just click on contact us. We could I don't know if we want to put in the show notes my contact information, which is just mjesty@athenaonline.com. And yeah, happy to have a discussion about their particular circumstances and situation, or even just to have a discussion about AI in their organization and sort of the strategy. And what we're finding right now is a lot of people have a lot of questions because the information has been a fire hose that people are confused about what to pay attention to. And so we're looking at our role first and foremost is to help filter that through, create some clarity in that discussion, and then maybe we're the right solution or not. But first you have to have that clarity. So yeah, I'm happy to talk to anyone.
Beautiful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, Oliver, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.